Onward.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Gorgeous. We just finished portaging all of our gear. It took us about almost 5 hours to get everything around that treacherous stretch of water. So now we're in some real calm floating waters. Should be nice and relaxing. We've got about probably an hour, maybe an hour and a half until we're gonna have to stop to get a camp set up before it's gonna get dark. No fun setting up those camps in the dark. Still super cold. Looks like we might have a storm coming in, but it's been a beautiful couple weeks exploring some of the most remote and untouched areas of Alaska. The last couple weeks we've spent is almost entirely on BLM lands, which obviously are federal public lands and are at great risk right now of being transferred to the states, and that would be a real tragedy. Transfer of these lands to the states would essentially mean a loss of these lands for use by the general public. They'd probably be sold to mining companies, private interests that would not allow individuals to recreate on these lands. The course of the last couple weeks, we've seen some incredible things, seen some incredible places, been to some really incredible areas that allowed us an opportunity to witness nature in all of its beauty and sometimes all of its fury. We've seen ptarmigan and grouse and an array of small game, which is luckily for us has allowed us to kind of supplement the rations that we brought along. We had some very strict weight restrictions on our gear. There goes a duck. It might be a loon, I don't know, but we had some real strict weight restrictions, and so we weren't able to bring a whole lot of food, and so some of the local small game allowed us to increase our protein intake, which is pretty important, as strenuous as the activities we've been doing are. But during our trip we've seen some giant bull moose, and we actually had the opportunity to get right inside of the caribou migration, and we had some gorgeous caribou within mere feet of us. JP and I have, and to the point where you can almost just reach out and touch them and witness some really exciting behavior with a mom and its calf, and bulls fighting, and young bulls stripping their velvet off their antlers. We've seen some huge moose. We saw a couple of monster moose, and of course we're out here moose hunting, but all of the real large moose that we saw the day before the hunt, and so we weren't able to harvest one of those, and we saw a few moose afterwards, but none that were legal. The unit that we're hunting has a 50-inch antler restriction. That means a bull has to have antlers that are at least 50 inches wide and or have 4 points on a single brow tine. We did have one beautiful bull moose about 30 yards from us. They may have met the 50-inch requirement. We'll never know, because it was so close that we didn't want to risk it. It's not worth harvesting a moose, and then when you get up to it, you find out that the antlers are 49.5 inches or 49 3/4. There's no margin of error allowed when it comes to the rules and the regulations that govern the state's wildlife. So your best bet is to just be careful and exercise caution when it comes to making those decisions. And so that's what we did, and as a result we didn't bring a moose out of this area, but we brought a lifetime of memories that, you know, we'll cherish forever. We actually got to see a mother grizzly bear, a big sow grizzly, teaching her two cubs how to hunt as they were hunting voles or pikas or something up on the tussocks, up on the slopes. Incredible to witness the power in that grizzly bear, and watching her teach those cubs. And those are the types of things that you'll just never forget. They get imprinted in your brain and they're with you forever. And just like that sow was teaching her cubs, I want to bring my son out here someday and teach him how to hunt and how to learn self-reliance. When you're out here in an area this remote and this vast, there's no phone for help, there's no Google, there's no computers, there's just you and what you've got with you for survival and for comfort at times. But this federal public lands transfer bill is seriously making my dream something that could not be a reality as far as bringing my son out here, because if these BLM lands are transferred to the states, then we're going to lose access, and that's just the grim reality of what happens when you transfer lands to the states. They will be sold and they'll be privatized, and who knows what will happen to them after that, but it's pretty likely that the general public won't have the ability to come out and experience these pristine areas, these unmolested wilderness areas that are just not under the influence of man, where nature can still do what nature does best, and our ecosystems can thrive, and we can just be witnesses to it. We can be visitors in this harsh and wild place and enjoy it and be better people because of it. So I sure hope that someday I'm going to have the opportunity to bring my son out here and allow him to enjoy this area with me, and not just this area, but areas all across the country that are currently in federal ownership, national forests, wilderness lands, lands that are governed by the Bureau of Land Management, the BLM. It's really important that we keep these areas accessible to the public and keep them wild, and that's something that I'll fight hard for, and I'll continue to fight for, because it's an important cause. It's one of those causes that there's just no alternative. We just cannot allow our federal public lands to be transferred to the states. It's really that simple.